they did go into Dallas and show that they were a good team. I thought, the offensive line was really good. Again, keeping, opening holes for Dalvin, keeping Kirk Cousins clean. There are some concerns that they have, but when you take the wide angle lens view on it, you can say, yes, you go on the road to Dallas, Sunday night game. All eyes are on you. Dallas, for me personally, I think they always get overrated in the hype machine in a season, but they're really good. I mean, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, that offensive line. I mean, it's a really good team. So to win that, they should feel good about it, and they should be okay with kind of exhaling a little bit and saying, okay, how do we bottle this type of performance and answer the bell again? Because now they've shown that they can do it. Maybe the monkey will be off their back. Maybe that'll let them play a little faster, a little freer, a little more confidently, and really start to build some momentum here.
Let's get to the secondary. We do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, works out of Champlin, ChamplinInsurance.com, or just Google Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new Quotes for Good program. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. The Viking Update show, I will donate $10 to the Adam Thielen Foundation, benefiting the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at ChamplinInsurance.com.
So the secondary is a concern. The fascinating part of that is, one of the reasons the offensive line has been such a concern is they just haven't invested many high draft picks in it. And when they did in Matt Khalil, it didn't work out all that well. The secondary is different. They have invested enormous resources. They have, and they hired a head coach whose specialty is working with those people, and they've kind of based their franchise around defensive line depth and secondary depth, and now the secondary doesn't look very deep anymore.
Yeah, no, it looks really bad, to be quite frank. I was kind of encouraged by what I had seen from Mike Hughes since he returned from his injury. I know that he has been working his way back, but I was hoping to see him take another step on Sunday night, and he didn't. Trey Waynes was a late scratch, and he has not been great for most of this season. Xavier Rhodes has been pretty bad for most of this season. And what we are seeing too, Jim, is why the Vikings were so willing to give Holton Hill another chance, right? Because this kind of no-nonsense coaching staff with someone who was a little less talented in a less position of need may have just cut him and said, look, we're tired of this. We can't deal with this anymore. Be a professional. But they, I think, looked around, saw the problems that they had in that area, and saw that Holton Hill does have talent and can help them down the stretch. And so they stuck with him, and they're going to need him because the blueprint is out on the Vikings defense now, and you cannot be an elite unit when you get chewed up in the passing game the way that they have been and the way that they were on Sunday night. And so I don't know. That's the question that I have that I'm not sure about is, can they make adjustments? Like, is there improvement to be made? Can they do things differently, or are they capable of playing better, or is this who they are right now? And if it's who they are, that's a big, big concern going into December, going into any possible playoffs against elite quarterbacks. That's going to be something that is going to put even more pressure on Kirk Cousins and the offense to put up big amounts of points, because right now it's hard to say that you can rely on that group to make a stop when you need it.
Absolutely. Let's get back to the Gophers a little bit here. Do want to thank Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. The promo code is TALKNORTH, but just go to bitesquad.com. They'll probably have a better deal for you in your area. You can also see what restaurants they deliver from in your area, and just keep using them, whether you can use our promo code or not. Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Bite Squad, the app, is the best way to do all of that. So the Gophers win. and they now have to play at Iowa. I think this is, listen, to me, it's already a successful season. And if they end up at 10-2 or 11-1, and then go and play in the Big Ten championship game, to me, it's a successful season, and everything else is gravy. But if you want them to have the highest of aspirations, this is the trap game. Coming off an incredibly emotional victory, going to play at a place that is tough to play against a well-coached team. Listen, Northwestern's no good, and this team's going to have no trouble getting up for Wisconsin at home for the season finale. This is the tricky game to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason they're 3-point underdogs right now, right? I mean, I think that Iowa has played some teams tough this year, and even though they're not 8-0 or 9-0 like the Gophers are, they have talent there, and it is a tough place to play. And yes, the Gophers are coming off this really emotional victory, so the challenge will be for PJ Fleck, while the rest of the university justifiably and understandably really wants to make the most of that moment on Saturday and capitalize on it and stand on the mountaintop and shout into the ether that, hey, pay attention to Gopher football, and wasn't this so great? The coaching staff is going to have to reel all these guys back in and let them come down from that euphoria quickly and get them refocused. And so it'll be interesting because while PJ was undefeated at at Western Michigan going into the Cotton Bowl, I don't think he ever faced this kind of a challenge where he was 9-0. They had 10,000 people storming the field, and it felt like that game on Saturday felt like the end of the movie, right? It felt like this is the triumph and this is what's celebrated. Well, it turns out there are so many more games to be played still, and there's still so much more to get out of this. And so, it will be interesting to see on Saturday how they kind of refocus and recalibrate and try and get back to business after such an incredible party. But, you look at the way they played in that Penn State game, and they belong. Like, this is a really talented team on both sides of the ball. And Tanner Morgan, if he keeps throwing the ball like he did on Saturday, it was, almost perfect. Like, then they should be able to go down there and win. They should have those expectations now. The conversation has changed for them, and I think that's okay.
Let's do a final thought for each of us on the Gophers and the Vikings. Once again, thanks to Twill, Tony Hoaglund, and Bite Squad. You first on the Gophers.
Yeah, I just I would say that my final thought and kind of the story that I wrote this weekend was, during the game, I kind of went around quarter by quarter and watched a quarter with a stakeholder, like, Bob Coughlin in the Coughlin family, and a longtime season ticket holder who had been through the struggles, a guy named Rob Litt, and then I watched a quarter with Heather Fleck as well, and it was a really good experience to just sort of see through their eyes kind of the struggles that they have been through, the hardship that they have endured, the nonstop negativity and failure that this program has really kind of provided for the last 30 or 40 years. And to see all of that sort of go away in one moment, in one afternoon, was pretty powerful. I mean, you're talking about a fan base that has been just worn down so badly over the years. And I think they still entered that day just kind of bracing for the other shoe to drop and hoping for the best, but really expecting or at least bracing for the worst. And then for it not to happen, it's almost like they couldn't believe it. Now, Heather Fleck always believed, but the rest of the people there just couldn't quite believe it and couldn't quite grasp it. And it was pretty fun to experience a group trying to come to grips with a new reality there, and all of a sudden starting to dream about things that they never thought were possible.
My final thought on the Gophers is that this is the first time I've ever watched a Gopher team. I've only been here 29 years. first time I ever watched a Gopher team and said they have a handful of players who would have looked comfortable in the LSU-Alabama game.
Sure.
Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Tanner Morgan, the way he's playing, Antoine Winfield, they could play anywhere, and that's just rare. Let's go. Okay, I'll give my final thought on the Vikings. This team is really good at home, and if they can continue to play well, and they should be 8-3 going into a bye week and getting Thielen back after the bye, if they can play well and earn home field advantage either for a game or two, that could create a path to the Super Bowl.
I agree with you there, and I do think it is really important for them to get as much home field advantage as possible because they are a completely different animal on that turf. I think that the pass rush in particular is more ferocious, and that helps them to minimize the defensive shortcomings in the secondary at least a little bit. And so if you can get at home and get the noise, and then you get Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin and Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith and all those guys, coming off the edges and getting after the quarterback, then you don't have to worry as much about Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes in coverage, and that's going to be critical for them. And so, it is in their hands. I mean, they should beat Denver this Sunday coming up, and then they go on the road for a tough Seattle game again. But there isn't a whole lot of room for error either because Green Bay just keeps finding ways to win, and so they're going to have to steal another one that maybe we don't really expect or think that they will down the stretch here if they're going to have that chance.
This is a great thing for the Upper Midwest. The Packers and the Vikings are going to come down to the wire, we think. Wisconsin Gophers is going to mean something. It's a great time to be a Minnesota football fan. Thank you for listening. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. We'll be back next week to talk about how the Vikings fared against Denver and how their outlook looks going into the bye week.